Ahoy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Talk the Plank, the official podcast of the United States Pirate Party. How much do I love you guys? So much that I'm missing the Bears game for this one. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jolly Mitch from the United States Pirate Party. This is your captain speaking, and today I am joined by one Timothy Grady. Tim is a candidate for governor of Ohio in 2026. He's an independent candidate and he is endorsed by the United States Pirate Party. Back in August, you joined us. We gave you our endorsement. And today I want to present the opportunity to the voters of Ohio. Perhaps this is the first time you're meeting Timothy. Maybe you wanted to get to know what your future options for governor was like. Maybe you want to know his policy. Maybe you want to know what Tim was like in general. So without further ado, I just wanted to give you the floor to briefly introduce yourself. Mr. Grady, go ahead.
All right. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I'm, as always, thankful to have the endorsement and support of the U.S. Pirate Party. I'm a longtime fan since earliest iterations, I think. My name is Tim Grady. I'm running for governor of Ohio as an independent. I'm a lifelong independent and a lifelong Ohioan. I care very much about the future of our state and our country. I'm not a natural politician. I'm not really good at this. And I don't really enjoy politics too much. It's a little mealy mouthed for me. But I feel that we are a country and a state in crisis, that the future looks in danger, and we have to do whatever we can to rescue the American experiment and protect liberty, justice, and democracy. So that's at the core of why I'm running, and I'm hoping to convince many, many more people to join me in that.
Fantastic. And you said you were a lifelong Ohioan. How long? Not so much. We know you once ran for governor. I believe was it in 2022 as a write-in candidate?
Yes.
So I suppose the question is, how long have you had gubernatorial aspirations?
Okay, well, technically, since when I was 16, I realized that you could run for governor at 18. I was like, well, that would be really funny. But beyond that, I, this I had not seriously thought about like running for governor to win. And 2022 was to, in many ways, fulfill an ambition of doing running for governor as a real life supervillain persona. I'm heavily influenced by one, Vermin Supreme, two, a kind of disrespect for our politics that I want to make a mockery of it, to run as a supervillain, to say these things that are, sound like standard political speak, but are in fact coming from a supervillain. And if you really think about it, a lot of the things our politicians say are pretty strange. But yeah, so it was almost performance art at that point. But I've always actually been very dedicated to the idea of we need a new political party representing a new politics. And I never thought that I should really be the spokesperson for that. But I needed it to happen. I need that to happen to save our country, save our future. In my opinion, my view of history, my view of the moment right now. And I kept thinking, okay, someone else is going to do it, and I can just do some stuff in the background and also do some fun politics on the side when I want. But then I joined Forward, and before that, I was supporting Unite America, which started out as the Centrist Party, and then the Centrist Project, and they just kept failing, not taking off, and eventually, basically, I decided in early last year, that I had, the cavalry wasn't coming. I have to, if anyone wants things to improve. We all want to change the world, but it's not going to change unless you stand up and do something. So I decided, okay, I will mount a serious gubernatorial run, and I will use that as a platform to engage people, show people that there is an actual alternative, show people that new ideas can win, that new voices can be heard, and that we can have choice, and we are the masters of our own fate. We are the masters of our destiny. And if we choose as a country, as a people, to say, we're not going down this path of destruction, we don't accept the two options given to us, we want something else, we can do that. That's within our power. So I guess it was always sort of coming, but the crisis that really started taking off in the 2020s and then 2024 just did not seem good. I had to run. I had to do this, and hope and yeah, just try and help lead and build something for more better people to follow in.
And I must say, I find that to be a very brave endeavor. I know it's not easy putting yourself at the forefront and trying to lead a movement, especially when it's not something you were intending to do so much. You didn't want to be the face of a movement. But oftentimes within the Pirate Party, we say, if not you, then who? So the idea that you said, no one's doing this, something needs to be done, something needs to be said, I will pick up that mantle and say it and hope that someone can follow me. One of the most important things anyone can do in life is inspire. And perhaps you do inspire that change through your gubernatorial campaign. Uh, does beg the question, though. This does seem to be a race where you have many big name candidates in Ohio running, especially when it comes to the Republican nomination. We don't know yet because they still need to have their primaries. However, you may be up against either Vivek Ramaswamy or you may be up against the America First candidate whose name currently escapes me. And then, of course, the whoever the Democrats nominate. And the reason I bring up the Republicans specifically is only because not only do they hold all the power at the moment, but those seem to be the biggest names in. Now, obviously, we know why people should vote for you, but what do you say to the voters that are swinging on the fence between the two candidates and perhaps you offer the third option?
Yeah, well, there's Heather Hill talked about being the America First Party candidate. That party doesn't exist. She can't be that. She's back in the Republican primary. She's going to lose the Republican primary against Vivek just because Vivek has fully locked that up with the support of the establishment the Republican machine. With he just got DeWine, our governor's endorsement, and he got Trump's endorsement a long time ago. So there is an effort to seriously primary him, but it's too little too late. The Democrat will be Amy Acton. Tim Ryan, former presidential candidate, former congressman, declined to primary her. So it's pretty much Amy Acton. And the thing about Amy and Vivek is that they are political neophytes. I frankly have more political experience than them, which is crazy. So everyone on offer is kind of a little bit new to politics, although the Democrat and Republican, they fully adopted their political machines. And I have to say, Vivek and Amy, I want to say about them that I consider them Ohio success stories. They are both great examples of what people from Ohio can do, what Ohio can do. Amy Acton grew up poor, became a doctor, and ended up being health director during COVID, very unpopular. Vivek, son of immigrants, grew up pretty well to do, to be honest, but went and became a billionaire and is back in Ohio and they're all trying to do something. They're all trying to contribute to Ohio and present a vision of politics, and I embrace and accept them. And I also encourage everyone to be nicer to them. I would like a very positive, ideas-driven campaign, and that's not what we're getting, but it's what Ohio needs, and it's what Ohio deserves. Basically, Amy Acton, the Democrats don't have much of a chance. We are a Republican state. We've been a Republican state for over 50 years. Sometimes we would vote for the Democrat in the presidential election, but in all other respects, in all other offices, we have been pretty much a Republican trifecta for 30 plus years. That's probably not going to change. The state has become more and more Republican, voting for Trump by 10 points in 2024. But what the Republicans have done is not only fail to invest in Ohio, they've run Ohio into the ground. We've dropped precipitously in pretty much all meaningful rankings of health, education outcomes, economic growth. We continue to flag. We continue to lose. We are the Rust Belt in every sense. So many of our communities are left behind, and it's through a lack of investment, a lack of ideas, but also because we have created in the state a corrupt political machine. We are one of the most corrupt states in the entire country. This is true, and it came to the forefront when about 4 years ago, almost 6 years ago now, our $60 million bribery scheme led by the Ohio Speaker of the House was revealed, arrested by the FBI. And that is the result of a Republican machine that is entirely unaccountable, because we are such a Republican state, because we are geographically sorted, because we are gerrymandered, that Republicans have no fear of losing to Democrats. But where Democrats have control in Ohio, in our major cities, in Cincinnati, Toledo, Columbus, Cleveland, what we have seen is equal levels of political corruption. The same year our Speaker of the House was arrested by the FBI, city council members in Toledo and Cincinnati were also arrested by the FBI for bribery schemes, because Ohio across the board is a single party state. In different locations, it's a different party, but at the end of the day, it's one party rule, one party state, the same as China, basically. So it's corrupt, it's unaccountable, and it leads to terrible outcomes, and the people getting screwed because they take our money, they give it to their connected friends, special interests, corporations that donate to their campaigns or outright bribe them. So I'm running because we need a real alternative. We need to create real political competition, because that's the only way you get accountability. They have to fear that they will lose, and that out of office, that they will be held responsible for their actions in office, that their dirty dealings will be exposed. Vivek and Amy Acton, the Democrat and the Republican, they're going to govern according to their parties. They are, again, political neophytes. They are not exactly strong personalities. They are the product of their political machines accepting and promoting them. That they are going to put into appointed offices the people that their party members tell them to appoint. And on the off chance that the Democrat were able to defeat the Republican in this race, still nothing would change. We'd have a Republican supermajority legislature that will overrule anything. And here's the thing about our $60 million bribery scandal, for those not familiar. The Republican Speaker of the House who was behind that became Speaker of the House because the Democrats backed him in the House against a a minority of the Republicans. So it's bipartisan corruption. So if you want to hold people responsible, if you want to get rid of corruption, you need to we need to build a centers of power outside of these corrupt political machines. And that is what I offer first and foremost. I am an anti-corruption candidate. But beyond that, I do believe in making this a campaign of ideas. My background is in economics. I'm trying to bring new economic ideas to the forefront. Aside from corruption, which I think nothing gets done until you fix corruption, but economic issues are my priority. Figuring out how we can invest in our small and medium-sized cities, our left behind parts of Ohio, and they are left behind by Republicans and Democrats. They are largely ignored. They focus on concentrating power money in the state and the existing drivers, and they are missing huge opportunities in Ohio for investment, for growth. I think Ohio is a very unique state with a lot of. We're one of the most urbanized states in the union. We have lots of small and medium-sized cities that are very Rust Belt, but they're also very diverse, very specialized in industry and education. And it's actually the perfect setting for a very 21st century economy. And I intend to invest in that and lead Ohio into the 21st century, embracing technology, embracing innovation, and understanding really the full potential of the state.
Thank you. And to your point, and this is something that I'm sure anyone who's found their way to the United States Pirate Party channel has assumed, the Democratic and Republican parties, while not equal, when we say are bad, we mean that think back to George Carlin, where it's a big club and you ain't in it. There doesn't need to be a collusion. There doesn't need to be a conspiracy to do what's best for them. And when you bring up the point of if the Democratic candidate somehow wins, she still has to face a Republican House and a Republican, legislature. That's dirty politics, and it just goes to show we need people like you to also run at lower level offices. What your campaign, one of the best things it could do besides win, because and to be clear, it's back to the other point. If you win, you have a Republican House and legislature that would try to block your agenda unless you met them halfway, and sometimes meet them whole way because they play dirty politics. They have a supermajority. What are you going to do about it? And that's the reality of things sometimes. And I think people need to realize that just because you're the head of state, despite what might be happening now with the head of state, does not mean you have just pure executive power. And when it comes to the governorship, it is going to be a battle to try to pass a lot of legislation. What people may see as a Democratic governor who's not getting anything done, they're just going to assume they're not getting anything done. They're not going to blame the Ohio House and Senate. Uh, so to your point, even if you have a successful candidacy, and we all hope you do, we believe in your message, we believe in your campaign. It is important for the people watching to know that running for governor, running for president, running for one of these big fancy offices is great, and it's important for visibility. To quote Nicholas Sarwark, some people you sometimes got to walk and chew gum at the same time. And I think that's what running for president or running for governor does, especially is even if the chances of winning may not be at the highest we anticipated. And again, a reason for this campaign is to bring forward the fact that we're in an unwinnable situation right now, that the Democrats and Republicans have a system in place where it's only going to be them, and then they'll blame each other for why things aren't going right. And you have an opportunity, as you've eloquently put it, to root out the corruption, and you're the anti-corruption candidate. And I think in this day and age, that reigns strongly to a lot of people. I think that's a very good stance to hold, obviously. Uh, but I wanted to get into some questions because, as you have heard and as you have congratulated us on, this week the Ohio Pirate Party officially has joined the Pirate National Committee, which, for those of you at home, that means in Ohio there is an official Ohio Pirate Party. We recognize the Ohio Pirate Party. The Ohio Pirate Party has done great work and worked very hard in order to get recognized. And as we've already endorsed your candidacy, the Ohio Pirate Party, I'm sure without speaking on their behalf, would be happy to help you every step of the way while you work on this campaign and any future works you have in mind. That being said, some members of the Ohio Pirate Party had sent in some questions, and I want to just get your opinion, get your answer. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, just present as such. Mr. Stoves asks, could we get the candidates to do a debate here in small town Ohio to take the lead in helping establish visibility and equal access to press for candidates outside of the mainstream? So the question is basically, do you believe that we can get some debates in small town Ohio?
Yeah, I don't know about the Democrat or the Republican or ever actually getting into a room and doing a debate. There weren't debates in 2022 because the Republicans said, "No, I don't feel like debating." So I wouldn't necessarily count on them, but there's going to be a Libertarian nominee. I'm sure me and the Libertarian would probably be happy to debate anywhere in Ohio. We'd be happy to go in the follow the example of Lincoln and Douglas and debate across the entire state, because that's frankly what people deserve. And I think you need to have that access for everyone in the state. So yeah, I'm absolutely certain that we can make some debates happen in small town Ohio. And if we can't make the Republican and Democrat join, we're going to make it painful for them to miss out.
And you know what? If they're going to exclude us, we can exclude them. If they don't want to be a part of it, this is an open invitation to the Ohio Libertarian Party, to the Ohio Green Party. Hell, I'm sure there's someone in the Prohibition Party that's dying to get on the ballot. If you have a gubernatorial candidate in Ohio, a legitimate candidate who's trying to change the way things are done in the great state of Ohio, come contact us. Let's organize a debate. Let's get people going, and why not have a Lincoln Douglas style debate? I like that with the going around. Of course, you are pulling on my Illinois heartstrings with that one. So thank you. Mr. Stove has a second question. The other local issue, which applicable statewide, is the town of Mount Orab just signed an NDA and transferred property to an LLC that is most likely to put a data center up. Now, Mount Orab is in Brown County. It's just east of Cincinnati. I'm sure you already knew that, but I had to look that up myself in case anyone at home is watching. Uh, but I suppose, do you have anything to say about the town signing NDAs with company, keeping people in the dark, and putting up data centers, which is another issue in and of itself? Do you have anything on those topics you'd like to speak on?
I have to assume that an NDA is a violation of sunshine laws, which are applicable across all of Ohio, and I'm pretty sure every state. You can't have secret agreements, and you honestly can't have meetings that aren't open to the public generally. So yeah, that seems transparency is the most important thing. We are losing trust in this country. We're losing trust in our institutions and our government and each other. And the solution to that is radical transparency. So if something is good for your community, for the city, for the state, and you're afraid that it's unpopular, well, the solution isn't to hide it, it's to make the case in open daylight. So, I mean, and I'll say the opposition to data centers, I think, it's become a hot button issue, and it's making for bad political decisions. It's making for bad policy decisions because people get angry about it, so they don't think about it fully rationally. I'm not as opposed to data centers as other people, and that's the thing about me and my campaigns. I guess I like to be very vocal about the issues where I know I am on the unpopular side of it, because that's when I think people need to hear it the most, because I think that's what democracy should be about. It's about airing all ideas honestly. And if you hide what you really believe, if you are dishonest in representing yourself, then it undermines all of democracy. Because democracy is about giving people choices and relying on them to make the best possible choices. So I'm going to be honest about what I believe, and I expect voters to tell me if I'm right or wrong, and that's how we figure things out. So small town city councils, don't sign NDAs, be public, be open, be honest, and hopefully people reward honesty. And if they don't, that's also the way of democracy.
That's a good answer. And might I say that some people have this idea that government should be ran like a business. And then we also had the courts say that businesses are people. Well, the government's not a person. So let's be clear about that. The government doesn't get to keep secrets. The government doesn't get to infringe on your privacy. And the fact that it's doing any of those things is a front to what we fight for. NB asks or says, had an unsuccessful endorsement interview today. It's clear from this at least that the main parties, I'm sorry, so they had an interview with the Democrats, to be clear. It's clear from this that the main parties will not take us or pirate adjacent ideas seriously. How do we as a party communicate effectively so that other groups respect us? So, to be clear, as this question is asked, Tim, you are an independent candidate. You have received the endorsement of not only the United States Pirate Party, but also the United States Transhumanist Party, who is our partner party for All Hands for a Free Future Coalition. I suppose the question being, how do we get the major parties to respect us? I suppose the real question is, how do we get the major party voters to respect not just our ideas, but your ideas? How do you reach out to the major party voter and say, I suppose I kind of asked you this already, but how do you reach out to the voter to say what we are fighting for matters, what I am fighting for matters?
Yeah, well, first I'll say of party endorsement interviews of Democrats and Republicans, I am familiar with the workings of local parties from candidates I've managed for those. And the parties don't actually get to control their candidates like that, and nor really should they. We have primaries. You want competitive primaries. You want to go collect your signatures, get your name on the ballot, and get your voice and your ideas out there, and leave it to the voters, not a few members of party leadership. They can have their influence, they can have their say, they can speak out publicly and try and rally their supporters to keep someone out from getting their nomination. That's how it should be. It shouldn't be a ton of backroom deals that always end up in uncontested primaries, which tends to be how it is in Ohio. We get a lot of uncontested primaries. Even our gubernatorial elections, our Senate elections in Ohio this year are looking to be the outcome has already been decided for the party candidates. They've chosen their nominees, and that's not healthy for the parties themselves. They're basically hollowing themselves out. They're setting themselves up for failure. That's how they've become historically unpopular. So they should learn from that, but they're not going to, which is why us new parties, when we form new parties, when we bring all our 21st century parties like the Powered Party and the Transhumanist Party, they don't have to, imitate the old parties, which are over 150 years old. They can innovate. They can embrace the technology and ideas of the 21st century and full democracy and knowledge and rapid communication. It's easy to be transparent now. It's easy to talk to voters directly now. It wasn't so easy 150 years ago. But now people can hear from candidates directly like this in video calls, long form podcasts and stuff. To get your ideas out there, I mean, the hardest thing for independents, for minor parties, is it's really, well, it's the ballot access. It's you are shut out if you don't get on the ballot, and they don't make it easy to get on the ballot. So you have to put in the hard work. You have to go on basically an extra mile or 10 just to get your voice heard. But when you do that, when you put yourself out there, I've talked to thousands of Ohioans in the last 6-7 months, and it's incredible how receptive people are of very diverse backgrounds, from the far left to the far right and everyone in between. They are very open to what I'm trying to say, what other voices are trying to be heard, and they're sick of it. There has never been a better opportunity in modern American history to offer new voices, to organize, to get involved in politics, and show people that there is something better. We don't have to be stuck with 20th century ideas from 19th century parties. We can do better. So it's really just putting in a lot of effort and trying to be everywhere, online, in person, just making yourself and your ideas as available as possible. Either you gotta make yourself heard, or there are a lot of people who are out there looking. That they just you need to make sure that you're available to be heard. I mean, there are still tons of people, probably like 3 or 4 a week at least, and we're almost 11 months out from the election, people who are just searching Ohio gubernatorial candidates, people, and they find me and they're like, wow, this is great. I am great. I'm so happy to find you, hear about your ideas. You're representing something I want and need to be heard. So it's basically hard work and making sure you are available. And there are a lot of little things, little levers, little places you need to figure out. But hey, that's why I get involved in politics, so I can help teach more people how to do that. So hey, if you want to run for office, I'm a person to talk to in Ohio. I've been running campaigns for people for a long time. I'll help you. And this is my message to all Ohioans who might be listening. If you are interested in being involved in politics, in making Ohio better, in making our state stronger, in running, or even helping someone else get elected, reach out to me. It doesn't matter what party you're from. I want to make sure your voice is heard and we have a vibrant democracy.
Right on. Thank you, Tim. Uh, And then from major party voters, we have a question moving on to religious voters, where the question is, how will you find middle ground for the religious community in Ohio? Now, I assume the religious community in Ohio, that question may pertain to what I assume is a majority Christian Ohio. However, there are religions of all sorts throughout the country, and I'm sure Ohio, being a microcosm of the United States, is no exception. So, but how would you address, or will you be willing to find, what is your middle ground for religious voters in Ohio?
So I am a political pluralist. I believe that none of us has all the answers. We're all wrong about things in different ways, and thus it is not right to shut anyone out, shut out any ideas, and we need a diversity of perspectives and thought and voices, and that is what America it was founded on, in that individuality, liberty, and pluralism. And our unofficial motto used to be "E pluribus unum," out of many one. That is pretty much the whole idea of pluralism. That's the whole idea behind this country, that we're bringing people of all faiths, all nationalities, all backgrounds, all beliefs together, and forming a country that is something other, something better than the sum of our parts. So I believe in liberty. I believe in protecting our First Amendment rights to freedom of speech, assembly, religion. And I don't, I think anyone can see that in me and embrace that in our campaign. That should know that, if you are harming no one else, that you will find safety and free expression, and we will continue to build one of the most vibrant, pluralist, liberty-minded countries in the world. We are going to reassert that long history. In our 250th year anniversary, we are going to celebrate that even more.
Fantastic. Thank you. I have a question. Uh, Day one, after the Grady campaign pulls out the upset of the century, what's one of the first things, or what's one of the first goals you hope to set in motion should you become elected governor of Ohio?
Yeah, well, I will say that I'm 100% running to win, with every intention of building the campaign capable of doing that. It's extremely important to me, and from the get-go, I am planning out how to govern under different circumstances of victory. If I am, elected with a plurality, with a majority, with support from other independents, or what have you, I'm quite certain that our victory is possible. And I mean, now it is the golden opportunity to make that happen. The Democrats and Republicans have never been weaker, and they've chosen historically weak candidates to be their standard bearers this year. So I think there's a pretty high, decent likelihood of my ending up in office. I'd like to think we can bring in a sweep of independent candidates or others. I'm actively trying to recruit more independent candidates for lower offices. But if not, I am quite certain that the Democrats and Republicans in the legislature, upon seeing a literal nobody, I am a random person with a message of anti-corruption and trying to actually solve problems. If they see me getting elected, they are going to be very, very concerned for their political futures, and they are going to get on board with whatever it is I'm trying to get past, just because they know if they don't, 2020 is going to be a pretty hard time for them. But there's, I think one of the most important powers of the governor is appointment power. In the past, they appoint a lot of political allies. They appoint a lot of, party members, party donors to offices, to things that they think aren't important or that they think are opportunities for corruption. My belief is that the fish kind of rots from the head. And as governor, my first responsibility is to clear out our executive branch of any corrupt actors or individuals, and really lead by example to root out corruption and to have the most efficient system as possible. And basically, I want to show Ohioans and Ohio public service employees that I am dedicated to the future of Ohio. I am going to fight to the bitter end with all my energy to make sure Ohio is the greatest state in the country. No offense to pirates in other states, but I believe Ohio has that potential. We're very well placed for that. And I want to, I believe very much that things don't get done just because you write a law or a policy that says it should get done. Things get done with people. So what matters is I am leading our state bureaucracy, and that bureaucracy needs to be full of people who believe in our cause and are going to put sincere time and effort into solving Ohio's problems and serving the people of Ohio. So no matter what the circumstances of my victory, we're going to be able to do so much just by creating an administration that cares and is dedicated to rooting out corruption and solving problems. So I intend to appoint people who share this belief, and that's kind of my day one thing.
Well, thank you, Tim. And to be clear, I'm not trying to insinuate you have no chance of winning. I'm simply trying to say that they're not giving us a chance of winning. They always think, as they should assume, because they've rigged the system to be as such, well, it'll either be the Democrat or the Republican. But I will say that in 2001, a second round, former sixth round pick was given the starting quarterback role, and no one thought he would win. He was 14-point underdog, and they beat the Rams. And all I'm saying is Tom Brady, Tim Grady, coincidence? I think not. Now, Tim, we are running short on time, so I got two questions that came in, and I just want to send them your way. First question, do you have a specific plan for how you'll work with Ohio's legislature? And two, do you have any updates on ballot access?
Yeah, the plan for working with the Ohio legislature, again, it's going to keep, we're working on multiple plans, and it's going to keep changing as we get closer to the election, see what we can set up in terms of recruiting more independents, or hopefully something else entirely to get like-minded people on the ballot and into office. But if not, we're prepared to work with them in any way necessary to clean things up and get things done. In terms of ballot access, we are over 1,000 signatures. Really, the plan was always to, over the winter, kind of cut out our signature collecting because it's winter, it's very cold. People aren't outside as much, and try and focus more of our efforts on building out our capacity of volunteers, building out our messaging, our communications, so that when it comes springtime in March, April, we have a good number of well-trained volunteers across the state that we can go collect a lot of signatures very fast. And ideally, not just for me, but I'm prepared to offer these signature collection services to more independent candidates who want to join the ticket, because that's really what we need. We need, across the board political change, and that doesn't happen from one person. That happens from all of us standing up and trying to do something a little bit better.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tim. And Tim, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. I appreciate you sitting down and answering questions for potential Ohio voters and anyone else who is interested in your campaign. Uh, Tim, you are endorsed by not only the United States Pirate Party, but the United States Transhumanist Party. That is all hands for a free future. Long live the handies. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Tim, once again, thank you for joining us. Before we cut out, is there any last words you'd like to close on?
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for the endorsement and the support. And I've gotten to know pirates in Ohio and across the country a lot better. And, you are people who are dedicated to privacy, security, liberty, and the founding ideals of America, like very few others. And I have complete respect. And I believe that together we are going to go very, very far.
Perfect. Thank you. And then one more question did come in. How many signatures do you need? And how many signatures do you have? Or how many signatures until you're on the ballot? However you feel like answering that question.
Right. We need 5,000 valid signatures by May 4th. We will aim for 10,000 for safety and to head off any challenges. We are at 1,100. I actually haven't done a full count and gotten reports in from all my volunteers lately, but we are somewhere past 1,100. And really, labor hours, I've calculated that we should be very safe for getting most a great deal of signatures in March and April, and a little bit over the winter. But if you want to sign or if you'd like to help collect signatures, hey, reach out. We will get you set up with all the materials you need. Or if you just want to get like 3 or 4 signatures from family, friends, neighbors, that every little bit counts. And hey, let me just throw something out there. I know I'm eating up your time and you're missing a very important game, but so the thing about our political system, and we know it's rigged, we know that it is set up for Democrats and Republicans, that they have it easy, they're playing on easy mode, and we have first past the post voting, which supports a 2-party system. But here's the thing. It is possible with the right strategy that everything that is currently an advantage for the Democrats and Republicans, we can flip into a disadvantage. The fact that they rely on negative partisanship and tearing each other down, making the other evil, that you're not voting for us, you're just voting against the other party. Once you enter a new third party or an independent candidate, all of their attacks against each other just drive more voters towards that new party, that new candidate. You have plurality voting, you have lesser evil voting. Well, guess what? When you introduce a new third party or independent candidate, they become the lesser evil for all the parties involved. So Democrats and Republicans, suddenly the one in the middle is the best option. So you do this right, we can turn the whole game against them. We can sweep an election, and you can do it very fast in 1 year, 2 years. And here's the cool thing about history of 2-party states. It's 2 parties, but it doesn't mean it's the same 2 parties. And you introduce something new. History has shown that very quickly that new party will rise to the top and knock out the others. The Republican Party of the 1850s is a perfect example of that. That is the times we are living in my opinion, and we can repeat history. I say let's go for it.
I sure hope so. Tim, thank you so much for everything. We did have people from Ohio watching today, people from Cincinnati, and voters from elsewhere. So thank you all for joining. Thank you, Tim, for answering questions, taking the time out of your day, and most of all, for running for governor of Ohio. You are doing a great thing, and we are happy to have endorsed you. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining. When we'll be back, Eh, we'll find out. When we decide we'll be back, we promise we'll have another great guest. Tim, you are the Tom Brady of Ohio politics. Thank you so much for all that you do. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Vote Pirate, bear down, and victory